said Black Lives Matter grassroots or Black Lives Matter?
Black Lives Matter Los Angeles or grassroots?
Los Angeles?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Is Brandon Lamar, he doesn't have a title or anything?
President of Pasadena.
Oh, that's that guy. And then the ticker is sponsored by, okay, got it.
We'll get Reza.
You're live.
James Farr, I'm live from Altadena, California. We're just outside of we're in the parking lot at the Pasadena Church in the Eaton Canyon area. We're doing a series of special broadcasts live from the Dena Relief Drive. For about the next hour, we have some folks that we want to talk to who have been active in the community, participating in this Dena Relief. Our live stream today is made possible by the law offices, Brad Gage Law, and you can find their information in the crawl. Gage is representing folks in this Eaton Canyon fire. But we're here. I got my man Michael Williams in the seat with me with Black Lives Matter Los Angeles and Black Lives Matter Grassroots. Another episode. We're kind of winging it today. We're going to pull some people in and find out what's happening. You hear a lot of traffic around here. Just over to my left, there's actually folks here from Australia who just came into town last night to offer some additional relief for folks here in the community. But
before we talk to our first guest today, Brandon Lamar, the new president of
Pasadena NAACP chapter. Michael, first of all, welcome, brother. How you doing? Before we get into you telling us what the news and the headlines are, but how you doing? How you doing first? Let's check in first with each other because you were evacuated or had to evacuate.
Yes, yeah.
How you doing, man?
We're doing okay. We've been back for about 2 weeks now, so we're okay. Everything is, we're trying to get back to normal and have some kind of normalcy. But yeah, we're fine. We're okay. Just trying to plug into all the work that's being done and help where we can.
Okay, your homes, your family, that's okay.
House is okay. We're one of the lucky ones to have our houses completely fine. Dogs, everybody's all right. It's more of like mental things and kind of just getting over the initial trauma of like what has happened, and that's going to take a little bit of time. But
sure,
yeah.
Sure. Now, you had to evacuate not because the fire, per se, right? But kind of the result of the fire and our water. Right? So
yeah.
How did that impact you? Then kind of tell people, how far out you had to go to, find somewhere to stay with you and your family.
Well, just for context, my grandmother, who's 100 years old, she was with us as well. And so because of the water situation, because of the air situation, I have asthma, and having my 100-year-old grandmother there, we didn't want to wait for evacuation notice to be called because, it would be hard to get a 100-year-old woman
to leave right now.
To leave quickly, right? And so we wanted a place where, she was already kind of struggling with dealing with the fact that there was no running water, there was no...
Right. So your water was cut off?
It wasn't cut off, but
okay.
Because
but you couldn't use the
contamination, right?
Gotcha.
She couldn't use it to brush her teeth. And she's already trying to, we had to take her out of her home to stay with us initially so that if we had to leave, she could come with us. And so then we just decided it'd be better if we leave preemptively. Again, because of the air quality, because of the water, but also because of the benefits to my grandmother, we just decided to leave preemptively and stay out. We went out to Ontario, which was also very windy that week.
So from Pasadena to Ontario, Altadena to Ontario, how far is it? Well, that's about 20, 30 miles? Right?
Yeah, about 20, 30 miles. It's way far out, clear of where the fires were. So, actually there was no smoke in the sky, anything where we were. So we were pretty far out from where we were.
Who'd you stay with? I mean, because it's how many in your home, and then where did you all stay together?
So, funny story, I was actually supposed to stay with a friend of mine who lives in the Hollywood Hills. The night before we were getting ready to leave, the Hollywood Hills caught on fire, and so they had to evacuate. So we had to find something quickly, and so we just found an Airbnb and stayed there for a couple of days.
Okay, so your family was able to stay together, and you weren't necessarily having to stay with someone else, so
No.
you were able to be comfortable. Wow, man. Well, man, I'm glad that you and your family and everybody is safe and healthy. What's happening in the news? What news and headlines do you have?
Well,
what's happening?
Talking about the Eaton fire, the Eaton and the Palisade fire are completely 100% contained, which is good news. They've been contained after 24 days of constant flames and fire. It's being reported that right now the estimated damage is 18,000 structures have been destroyed.
18,000?
18,000 structures between the Eaton Canyon fire and the Palisades fire.
Okay.
And 29 people have lost their lives in these fires. So, yeah, it's been a devastating fire here in California.
Okay. You know, I went behind the lines in the days immediately following the first responders. I'll say it, the police, right? That's not usually my preferred method of transportation. But in this situation, I am appreciative that I was contacted because they wanted someone on the ground to kind of see the level of the destruction at that time.
Right.
I mean, folks saw it somewhat on Wednesday and then somewhat on Thursday, but by the time the National Guard was here with the long rifles out, you couldn't get,
Pass.
I mean, it wasn't advisable to try to get past.
Right.
And so when you were able to see it, you know, in the days following, I mean, the first days I was up there, were still things on fire. They were still smoldering. And you notice just how dangerous it is. And so there's still a lot of repairs happening in the area. Altadena, as you said, over 10,000 structures. There's not quite yet a quantified number of people who have been displaced and where those people are versus people that may not be accounted for.
Right.
It is completely extinct
At this point. What else you got for us?
In some other good news, CD 14, City Council District 14 here in LA, has a new city council member. She is being sworn in today, Isabel Jurado, and Isabel is being sworn in at the Central Library at 2:00. If you don't know, Isabel was the one that defeated Kevin De Leon, who was caught on tape making racist remarks along with other city council members and other city officials. And so after a long 2-year campaign and after a very well-ran campaign from Isabel was able to defeat Kevin De Leon by a landslide. Very convincingly. And actually, I was talking to someone and I was like, I didn't realize, I didn't think about it, but she actually beat him twice.
She beat him twice.
She beat him twice in 1 year. So she ran a great campaign and now she's being officially sworn in. She had staved off her swearing in ceremony because of the fires, but today they're having an official ceremony.
That's awesome. Congratulations, council member. That's one of those ones I just say less, right? The work spoke for itself, the collective organizing. You were a part of that, right, Michael?
Yeah. And can I say that, I think, we were going to do our campaign no matter what, and we were going to try to push for Kevin De Leon to be removed no matter what. But I have to say that Isabel made it easy. Isabel made it so easy to convince people to move on from Kevin De Leon because she ran such a confident and change-worthy campaign. And so,
well, I was going to say, Michael, I mean, it's not like racist,
right?
Is the standard, right? I mean, but it kind of is if we look at kind of where we are and what everything is. I mean, you told me everything is a disaster, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so so Isabel, being such a good candidate and running on such revolutionary and progressive platforms really helped to make it an easy vote against Kevin. We don't need Kevin. We actually have an upgrade. It's not just a lateral move. It's actually an upgrade at that city council seat.
What else you got?
This Wednesday will be the 4th anniversary of End Police Association's rallies. It's a rally that Black Lives Matter has had for over 4 years now. It's going to be 4 years this Wednesday. It's at 4 at 1313 West 8th Street in front of the ACLU building. We'll be having all kind of guests. Of course, Dr. Molina will be there giving speeches. We'll have family members there. And we're just going to be rededicating ourselves to ending police associations' hold on our political system by getting them out of the House of Labor and stopping their collective bargaining ability.
So for 4 years, every Wednesday,
yes,
if my math is right, that's 208 weeks.
Yep.
There's been an action, organizing, demonstration, and also holding space for community members and that have been impacted by state-sponsored violence. What was the impetus of that? Like, why did that start 4 years ago?
Well, it was something after Jackie Lacey, and we wanted to have something that we could do.
Jackie Lacey is the former district attorney
of Los Angeles
County. Okay.
And we had a similar type protest every single week on Wednesday out in front of her office. And so we decided that we were going to do something. Who was our next target? Who was the next people that we believe needed to go in order for families and people affected by state-sanctioned violence to get justice? And of course, that is a police association, what most people would call police unions. We don't call them unions because police are inherently anti-union. They were created to organize and fight against labor organizing. And so we call them police associations. But also adjacent of the ACLU building is the LAPPL building. And so we thought
LAPPO is an acronym for who?
For Los Angeles Police Protective League.
Commonly not referred to as the union.
Right, as the union, right? And so we thought it'd be perfect to have ACLU in the front, in the back of us, LAPPL in the front of us, and have a weekly rally to bring awareness to the harms and dangers of police associations here in Los Angeles and across the country. 4
years. Now, for my audience who are probably, for the first time learning about EPA, Baba Keeley and everyone with the organization and the movement are there, and you get to hear, it's really a community event, right? It's an event of healing. Yeah. It's a place to, there's art, there's just everything. When you think of, really the origins of Black Lives Matter and now Black Lives Matter grassroots, but really Dr. Abdullah and others who anchored that Black Lives Matter Los Angeles, right, chapter, which was the actual first boots on the ground, and Black Lives Matter grassroots is Black Lives Matter, right? They're the boots that are on the ground. It's not this radical militant Molotov cocktail gathering, plotting terrorist organization. It's not any of that. I've been in many different spaces with it, but what keeps you connected with it?
I always say that EPA, if you're a person trying to get plugged into the work of social justice here in Los Angeles, EPA is the best way to do that. And the reason why I keep coming out is because of the community that it builds, right? It builds such a strong community that when we have EPA and when we do these rallies, we are not only calling out police associations, but we are also building connection with multiple organizations and multiple people on how we can better protect one another and how we can better give one another the resources and access to resources that we need. And so it's such a powerful rally each and every week. So many people show up, and it's all volunteer. Nobody's getting paid to be there. But we have music, we have art, we have people speaking, we have solidarity statements, right? We have so much. We have snacks, right? Folks who bring snacks. The donuts. Yeah. A lot of people come for the donuts.
I do. I said that out loud. My bad.
Yeah. A lot of people come just for the donuts. But yeah. So we have donuts, we have all these different things. It's such a community-oriented event, and it's something that I'm proud to be a part of. I'm proud to be heading it up in replace of Baba, who's away right now, Baba Keeley, who usually
on sabbatical,
organized
right?
our EPA rally. And so I'm proud to be stepping into his shoes and doing not as good of a job, but at least holding it down. You know?
He gonna haze you anyway and
Right.
kind of chip a little bit at you. Well, in honor of Baba Akili has this call about Wednesday, and if you gonna continue in his place, right?
I'm embarrassed to do it.
You can't fill his shoes, Michael. You might can wear his socks. But you gotta hit it one time for us.
Every Wednesday.
All right, Michael Williams, man. Thank you so much, Michael, for stopping by and keeping us informed of what's going on. Thank you for the work.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Now this is organically turned into we're waiting on our next guest to get in the seat. Today is February 1st.
Black History Month.
Typically, we kind of celebrate Black History Month, right? I can't remember, and I'm gonna ask Brandon this. I can't remember who I heard say Black Future Month as a reframing of history. So let's look forward, right? Not a little bit of Sankofa, right?
I wonder if that was Future, Janiyah Future Khan.
I have no idea. I heard somebody say that somewhere, and it's just kind of stayed in my spirit. And as this is kind of organically happened right now, I'm glad you answered the call, made yourself available. I always enjoy talking with you. And then now that we have Brandon coming in, Brendan Lamar is our next guest. It's turning into that. Like we're looking at the future. Thank you so much, Michael.
No problem, Jane.
All right.
Anytime.
You're watching The Conversation Live. The Conversation Live focuses on social justice and restorative justice, inclusion, and equality. I'm live in Altadena at the Pasadena Church. We're just at the foothills of the Eaton Canyon fire, which happened on January the 7th. Over 10,000 structures have been destroyed here in our community. This is my neighborhood. This is a hometown story for real. We're going to continue to cover stories of resilience, stories of relief, hearing from folks who are impacted here on the ground. I'm grateful for the support from Brad Gage Law for helping us stand up this live stream and this series of live streams that we're going to be hosting right here live. Brandon, go ahead and have a seat while I finish setting it up for you to get on.
So again, we're here, we're live, we're pulling people in, we're going to talk to some folks, we want to hear their stories, learn more about what's happening in the recovery. But right now, I couldn't be more thrilled, more excited.
Said welcome this brother into the seat. He is the new president of the Pasadena NAACP branch. He is also the vice chair of our Pasadena Rental and Housing Board. Lifelong resident, Black man, husband.
Yeah.
Sometimes he preaches.
Sometimes.
Most of the time he's teaching. But every time I see him, he's out in these streets reaching for the people. Brandon Lamar, what's up with you, brother?
What's up, man?
How you doing, man? Congratulations.
I'm glad to be here. I'm always
Are you
glad
really,
to be
Brandon?
It's hard to tell, but I'm always glad to be in these streets.
Well, you in the streets. I mean, I met you outside when you were just a teenager. I've had a chance to have you on The Conversation Live. We've been in community. We go back as far as we can go back, and just to see your maturation and how you continue to show up, right? Even with or without a title.
Right.
Tell me about that, Brandon, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff. But where does that branding come from?
I mean, I don't really necessarily think that you need a title to make a difference. And I think with that in mind, most people who have titles use them not so much for good, which is, I think, the real heart of a community and real heart of people in the community are people that are everyday lives living here, serving here, being a part of community. And the normal people who really serve our communities don't need a title, right? The people that you see behind us giving out waters and giving out hygiene products and giving out meals, none of those people actually need water. I mean, they don't need titles, right? And I think that's the most important thing is people who are really doing the work, boots on the ground work, and so many other things. Like you don't need titles to actually make a difference. And I think that was the important thing for me is just being in a community where my people are suffering in, my people need help in, my people are thriving in, and you don't need titles just to make that difference.
Okay. So let's go back to that Tuesday night when the fire breaks out. Wednesday morning, folks across the town from one end of the town, east end where it started, around 6:30. I'm evacuating around 8:30. Police are coming into my neighborhood on the megaphone, ordering us to leave now, right? We find out the next morning the devastation, and so many of our community members had lost their homes. We later learned that some lost their 17 lost their lives in the in this particular fire. What happened on that Thursday? I talked to you and I said, what I called you because I knew you was already doing something. I just needed to check in with you to learn how I could support you.
Yeah.
What happened on that Thursday?
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, it really started that Wednesday. That Wednesday, I went up into the city and drove up Altadena. I know a lot of the streets were blocked off. Fires were still going, still ablaze. Homes were still burning that Wednesday. And I was actually able to see the damage from our community that happened on Wednesday. And then leaving Altadena and driving towards the convention center and going in the convention center. Literally, I walked in the convention center and at one point, it was 700 people in there. By the time I left, it got up to 1,300 people in the convention center. And so even within that standpoint, I was like, man, we got to do something. Didn't know what we were going to do, but in that process, just start processing what we were going to do, how we're going to do it. We just got to do something. And so went to sleep Wednesday night, woke up Thursday, and the first call I made was to Michelle White, who's the executive director of Neighborhood Servants, and was like, it's a go. We got to do something. Let's do it. So she was like, well, what are we going to do? I was like, I don't know, but head to Pasadena. We're going to figure it out. She said, okay, we need a location. And so after we needed a location, we like, all right, cool. And then after the location, I called Flint Ridge. And when I called Flint Ridge, I said, Josh, we need a location, right? And as Josh said, man, meet here at 10:30 and we'll be here. Showed up at 10:30. At 11:30, we had 150 volunteers in pallets and pallets and pallets of things to give out.
So how did y'all activate that? I mean, because by the time I got over there, it was a room full. I mean, like
it was nothing.
Not an 8 foot, 10 foot ceiling, like a real room full.
It was no nothing. It was nothing but a flyer. The only way we did it was a flyer. We put out a flyer, and as many people and organizations that we could connect with at this moment, that's who we spoke to, right? And so we were all able to come together, and we posted a flyer at literally at 9:30. By 11 o'clock, it just turned into something that we never imagined. Also, strange thing is also the passion behind it as well is we only wanted to do this for one day, right? This was a one-day thing, right? And as this being a one-day thing, it literally turned into day 23, right? And so in day 23,
wow, it is 23 days. Yeah,
it's been crazy. So
the need was great because the distance you were over at the Flint Ridge Center, which is 4.5-5 miles from here, the opposite end of Pasadena. That's about as far west as you can go and still be in community, right? And we're here on the east side, right? So how do we end up here? Like we're at Pasadena Church. Pastor Kerwin Manning, who we talked to last week, he was also on First Things First with on KBLA Talk 1580 with Dominique. You were also a part of that live broadcast. How did we end up here, though?
Yeah, so I mean, first Flint Ridge was 1.5 miles away from the fires, right? So that's why we chose Flint Ridge, and Flint Ridge became a safe zone where we actually was able to open it up there. So that's how we got to Flint Ridge, and it's also it's in the middle of Northwest Pasadena.
Sure.
And so that's Northwest is always a need for me, right?
Right.
And then it came to thought, well, we were evaluating locations and there was no services in East Pasadena, which the fire actually started over here.
Right. I mean, you folks, you can't see this, but where Brandon and I are looking at right now is the burn scar. Right. This is Eaton Canyon. You know, and folks, I don't think you'd be able to really see it that well with what we have, but it literally started about a half a mile from where we're sitting right now, which is why the evacuation happened in this area first. But then that wind went to the west.
It went crazy. And so we saw that there was a need because there was no services happening over here. Homes were gone. People were evacuated. And so we knew that there was a big need. And so we reached out to Pastor Kerwin Manny, who actually went to go see our site at the Flint Ridge site. And as soon as he saw the site, saw how we was operating, he was like, man, we can definitely do this at Pasadena Church. And so literally we had that conversation that Friday. That Monday, Pasadena Church opened their doors to start giving out services. And that's how we landed over here.
And so every day up until last week, Pastor Manning's church or Pasadena Church was open. The Flint Ridge Center was open. We're now about 3 weeks out of the event. You know, folks are getting, you know, settled wherever they are. You know, kind of putting their life back together as best they can. The initial need was for clothing. The initial need was for water. The initial need were for certain provisions. But what everybody quickly found out is people had nowhere to take the stuff.
Exactly.
You know,
and that was the ultimate need for us and ultimate evaluation for us. So ultimately we really started to stop taking hot meals because every restaurant, I mean, you see them, they're here today. Every restaurant, everybody wanted to serve hot meals, but our families firsthand told us where we're going to put them. How we're going to warm them up. And
don't give me a can of soup. A can opener.
So we actually shifted from hot meals to gift cards. So
why were gift cards important?
So gift cards were important because families were able to get the hot meals when they wanted them and when they needed them. So they can go to the restaurant and get their whole family a meal. They can go to Cheesecake Factory or any one of these places and get hot meals when they actually wanted them and did not have to worry about warming up food. But I think it's also important to know, and I've been telling everybody this, at the end of the day, Dina Relief Drive was the first active drive or even giveaway distribution center in the city of Pasadena. Before the city started, before the county started, before any of our elected officials started, Dina Relief Drive was the first drive. And so that also means that we've been the longest lasting drive in the city of Pasadena, serving the needs of our community. And I think that's the important thing to understand is that this is not funded federally, statewide, or even citywide. These are people who actually love our community and want to serve our community, which is why we've been able to do what we've been able to do.
Well, you know, there is that saying that we keep us safe. And we have to take care of ourselves, We have to look out for us. You know, had it not been for like a neighbor and my neighbors, I should say, I'm sitting there watching the fire on TV and see clearly that they are walking distance from my house, But I'm like, I'm going to get an alert. I'm going to get something else that'll let me know. But it really was first the neighbors, And some folks didn't have that benefit of an alert, That's a whole nother conversation, which will continue to go on. But it was in many cases a neighbor, a family member, or like a Martin Gordon who said it was his wife who watched it on the Ring Cam and, you know, told him to get out as soon as possible. Clothing was a big need at first, Why is I have my thoughts on it. I'll share, but why did the clothing thing not work out?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to clothing, clothing was a big need, and we knew the clothing was a need, People's literally everything had burned up,
and they ran like I left my wallet was a whole different thing,
and so that was literally the thing that was happening, and it's, you know, it's a good thing that this show is outside today. But it's also a lot of noise happening as well. So I'm trying to keep my mind focused. But at the same time, clothing was something. But with clothing, The thing about clothing was it was a need. So first story, a lady drove up, and this is how we knew the need was real. A lady drove up the first day that we did this, and she literally pulled up in her clothes and underwear, her shirt and underwear.
Wow.
In her car. And she told us the story of how the sheriff knocked on her door, and when she opened the door, the fire was literally on the wall of her house. Mm-hmm. And she only had time to take her keys off the wall and run to her car.
Wow.
And so Thursday, she drove up to us in her t-shirt and underwear because she slept in her car. Didn't feel comfortable, of course, going into any store or any other location. And so our location was the first location that she was able to go to get clothing items. And so that was a blessing, number one. So we saw that. Also, the problem with clothes was that people were just emptying out their closets for things that they wouldn't want to wear, or there wasn't
bag of clothes that have been sitting in the corner,
garage for 2 years, and they didn't look at them. Things were dirty, it was raggedy, and so much other things. So we stopped taking clothes altogether. And you know, people, a person's trash is another person's.
Absolutely. I mean, I think.
Jewel.
I think the intent that people had
it was
first, right?
Great,
it was genuine, it was pure, but then we also had to think about the humanity, right? The dignity, right?
I think some intentions were pure. Let me say that. Some intentions were pure.
I have no doubt.
Other intentions, people thought we were like Goodwill and Salvation Army.
Exactly.
And this is a volunteer-based thing, so we didn't have people to go search the clothes and all that kind of stuff. So we just have to stop it altogether.
Well, and then also, again, in the emergency, in the immediacy, we understand you just like, this is the first time I've heard a story like that, right? It makes perfectly good sense.
Absolutely.
Because the way the fire spread, and once it got over to the west side, it was well into 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, right? You know, a lot of people either didn't leave or, you know, so that makes sense. So
but then also it was stories about especially on the west side, they didn't get the alerts in time to evacuate how they really needed to evacuate, right? It was more so of, hey, you got to go and you got to go now. And the alerts that they were getting on that side of town was literally police cars driving down the street on their bullhorn saying you got to evacuate right now. So that's different than the rest of us receiving text messages saying, hey, you're in the evacuation zone.
Right.
That's literally how they happened, how the evacuation happened on that end of town. And the evacuations on that end of town was happening between 3 o'clock and 3:30 early in the morning. So you have people who are listening to this, jumping up, getting their stuff, hearing banging on the doors for them to get out also. But then you have, I believe it's 16 or 17 people who lost their lives within that. So in my mind, it's like, okay, maybe they would sleep. Maybe they couldn't get up. Maybe they didn't hear what was happening, right? It could be so many things. But we definitely have to look at, in the future, look at our emergency system and how our communities are definitely notified in time of needs like this.
What's the need right now? Like if someone reached out to you, so you're with, you know, organizing with Michelle White Neighborhood Service, Pasadena Church, East Campus is a hub. There's so many different not emails, but websites and QR codes, and GoFundMe's, and, you know, for people who are really, it's hard to tell who to support. I mean, I literally received a voicemail from a KBLA listener, Talk 1580 listener, who wanted to donate a sizable amount of money. Right. But his concern was, I don't know where or to who. And the Lord put this on my heart. Where should I go? Well, as soon as he said the Lord, I said the pastor, right? Like, and because we know Kerwin and the work that he's doing, and many of the other ones here. But what's the need right now?
Yeah. So I think the real need that we have right now is housing, right? There's long-term temporary housing and also short-term housing is a big need right now. Hotels are needs, apartment units are needs right now. Airbnbs are needs. Housing a big need. You think we was in a crisis before this? We're definitely in a crisis as of right now.
Well, shout out to Council Member Spicer out in Compton, who, you know, he's working to move through his city council, providing resources. You know, perhaps you know, a couple of dozen families. Are other cities kind of participating in
they are way? But in different ways. So actually, Councilmember Spicer and I and Victory Bible Church, we actually partnered on that.
Okay.
And so we were able to get about 40 families housed in the Crystal Hotel in Compton. And so we submitted a whole bunch of families to them to do it. And we also know there was a lot more families in need, but most families wanted to stay close to our city. That's why the need that we have right now is for housing within our city or even around our city. And I think that's also a need. I think the other needs that's not pertaining to the drive per se is supporting our young people. Their Chromebooks have been burnt up. Their school supplies have been burnt up. And so now we have so many teachers are doing drives and things for students, but our students are in desperate need of items right now. So that is a huge need for us as well. And then gift cards is always a need, you know. And I'll tell everybody this, as of today, yesterday alone, we did a drive and we gave out $35,000 worth of gift cards yesterday. $35,000 worth of gift cards. We gave 350 gift cards, $100 gift cards each. They were $100 each. So we gave out $35,000 worth of gift cards yesterday alone. To this date, we gave out over $80,000 worth of gift cards for the stuff that we've done. And so,
and this ain't your full-time job.
This is not my full-time job.
You paid. This
I have not gotten a dime from this. And
you got a message for the interlopers coming in town and the
we don't want
grifting and
you.
all
Yeah,
of the
it's happening.
scammers and all of that stuff.
It's happening. I mean, people. I mean, when you see disaster, people see a disaster as people see a disaster.
It's a disaster economy. This is what happens
as a money thing.
Yeah,
and so that's not what we're here for. We're not in that space for it at all. And so at the end of the day, people are going to come. But what we also have to do is sift out those people who are coming for greed in their own ways. And you see a whole bunch of new nonprofits popping up and new foundations popping up, which was important for me to make sure I partnered with organizations that had establishment within our community. And it's been great, right? And so if you would like to donate gift cards, you can definitely go to Neighborhood Servants and all our information is there. You can go to my Instagram and reach out to me on Instagram at BD Lamar. And you can also give them to the Flint Ridge Center at 236 West Mountain Street in the city of Pasadena. Or you can drop them off here at Pasadena Church. And we always make sure that every single gift card that comes in, we give it right back out into the community.
Well,
so those are the ways.
Well, you know, I know because I see the work, right?
Yeah.
I know the work and we're so proud of you, you know, and the way that you've shown up in this community and continue to show up in this community. And this conversation live has turned into, like I said, a Black future, right? As we kick off February 1st, 2025, Black History Month, right? We are looking into a future because what I've lived in this community almost 25 years, right? And every year I got to fill out a visa to stay in good standing. This is a proud community, right? I mean, I couldn't think of a better Black community, a better place to raise a Black family, you know, with everything in there. And it's special here, right?
Yeah.
But it's going to be special. It is special. It will be special differently.
But I think that's also what we have to highlight, right? Because 80%, I want to say about 80% of what was burnt was Black homes.
Yes.
And that's the important thing is when we talk about Black Pasadena or Black Nina or a Black community, at the end of the day, when we go through a devastation like this, it affects the Black community, right? It affects our educators, it affects our students, it affects our advocates, it affects our activists, it affects our businesses, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's the thing, like devastations like this affect Black communities so much. But that's why when it comes to fundraising, when it comes to people who are starting all these donation drives and everything like that, we want to make sure that the money that is being raised are going to, number one, grassroots organizations that are connected to the people, and is going directly to the people, right? And so that's our biggest thing, right? That was our biggest thing when we met with Governor Newsom. That's our biggest thing when we're meeting with foundations. We want to make sure that is happening. Our focus also is making sure that local jobs are happening, right? We want to build the middle class. This is an opportunity for us to build that middle class here in Pasadena so that people can actually push to really rebuild, but we're also building jobs at the same time.
Right. It is building back, building black, better, and all of that.
And stronger.
Brandon Lamar, brother, I know you, like, for the last 21 days, I told you one other day, cut your phone off so you can get some rest and whatever. And I hope have you done that?
I haven't.
You haven't, okay.
I've been trying to do it, but even as you see people walking by the booth, I can't even concentrate.
But listen to your big brother, man. You're my little big brother, but listen to your big brother.
Longevity is important.
Brother, you gonna need it. I was, sharing with another person earlier. You and Michael give us hope in this community. You guys are men of integrity. You are men of this community, and I'm counting on you for my son.
I appreciate it.
You know my 10-year-old son. He knows you, and he thinks you're like a superhero.
I appreciate it.
So I'm counting on you to lay a better foundation,
yes, sir,
than him, and to hold him accountable when you see him in community. Remind him, hey, boy, I know your daddy, right?
Yeah.
So again, thank you, Brandon, for stopping by, brother. I love you, man.
Love you too, bro.
Thank you so much. All right, we're winging it today. We don't have a real serious schedule. This Conversation Live. We're live in Altadena, right in Pasadena, but on the Altadena border, just straight ahead. I'm looking at the Eaton Canyon mountain range in the San Gabriel Valley. Mount Wilson is up there where we get all our communications from. The fire started on January 7th over in Eaton Canyon. Right now, they believe that the fire was started by a electrical power lines. So a lot is yet to still be determined. What we do know that over 10,000 structures were destroyed. 17 people lost their lives, and 18 people lost their lives in the Eaton Canyon area. Palisades suffered devastation as well, but we're centering our conversation here in Eaton Canyon. It's a Black focused conversation. 80% of the homes, as you just heard Brandon discuss, were African American residents who have lost generations of memories, generations of wealth. And, as we continue to be optimistic as to what building back looks like for this community, it will certainly look different. And different will be determined by the stakeholders who live there, who are vested in the community. Again, my trusted field producer, director, tech guy, Andrew Silk, is pulling people into the seat right now. And is this who we have? All right, he's giving it to me right now. Oh boy, I'm gonna do this on the fly. This is in real. Gyan Singh, right?
Correct.
Gyan Singh, and he is with Turbines for Australia.
No, I am with United Six.
United Six. Okay,
correct.
So I got two different cars. So the reason why I'm confused is I have another gentleman's car who just arrived from Australia last night, right?
Yes.
And you guys are together though, right?
He came with us on a temporary basis. He wanted to see what we're doing and how service works. His concern was that they have a lot of bushfires in Australia, and they have many similar issues that we do, just not on the same scale. He wanted to see our response to it and how we deal with it. Okay.
So how long have you been out? First, tell me about your organization. Give me a little bit of information on that, and then how long have you been here volunteering? I know they were definitely here last week.
Yes.
Handing out food. Yeah.
We United Six is a multinational organization. We're headquartered in New York, and I'm actually part of the LA West Coast chapter.
Okay.
We're based in Buena Park.
Okay.
Gurdwara Singh Sabha Buena Park is one of the biggest ones in the area, so we're known there. And our purpose, we are affiliated with FEMA, and we do this exact type of recovery work. We provide food as our specialty. We're Sikh. We do a lot of catering. Food is really big for us. When possible, we also have general supplies, basic medical needs, personal hygiene items. It's everything you see here. We do it on some scale. I've done this in many different locales. They sent me to New Orleans after Hurricane Ida.
Ida, okay. Yeah.
And I worked with FEMA actually directly there. We were working in coordination with them to distribute FEMA supplies.
That's interesting. Let's put a pin in that, because having responded to a disaster in another region, different type of.
I've also been to Ukraine during the refugee crisis. Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, the hurricane, you had the floods, you had all that, you had fire here. Is there any similarities between, just from kind of how you've experienced and observed it, how people are recovering or how people react to a disaster? This is my first time dealing with something like this.
I'll be honest with you. A lot of it comes from the communities. It's all a lot of local organization and effort, because it takes FEMA a while to respond. They're always slow, regardless of the type of disaster. And even overseas, Ukraine and Poland, it was always a local thing. There were a lot of, you would call them multinational NGOs, but they were mostly from Europe.
Gotcha.
So they're pretty local. You know, they could drive there. It's always the communities and those closest to them that do the most and that are quickest to respond.
Okay. How can people get in touch with you if they're wanting to learn more about your organization? We'll get it up in the in the notes if people wanted to find out more about your work.
United6.org. That's UNITEDSIKHS.org. And my coworker wants my key. Here you go.
She doesn't. She's not worried that we're live right now.
That's all right. Just hold on to it.
Thank you.
Anyway.
What is the back of her shirt?
We don't do anything. It's all God, because it is our belief that God is the giver and the doer, and we were only the tools of God. By Sikh's core belief, one of them is that all humans are equal in the eyes of God.
Sure.
And that we are all equally the creation of God, and thereby serving each other is our way of serving God. We call it seva. You would call it volunteer work, but for us, our seva is a sacred connection to God to express our gratitude for our lives and for others being here.
Gotcha. Well, we're appreciative that you're here. I meet some of the most amazing people in the face of disaster or tragedy, and you know it is an opportunity to meet people from around the world, and you kind of find like just a human thread, like just humanity shows up. But what like really motivates you to stay connected to it?
Well, honestly, I was born in Anaheim. I'm very local. And during the pandemic, I was very disconnected from this community, from my Sikh community. I've been doing this for 20 plus years. I started when I was 16. I'm almost 40 now. So this is really these are my people, right? And the pandemic kind of cut me off from all that. And then they started doing this thing in Skid Row. We would bring food to the people there who were desolate and destitute, and there weren't any other organizations giving them food. Usually there's some sort of food service there, but we were the only ones. And it occurred to me that this is not only a good way to connect with my community, doing our seva, that is our duty to do, but also it's a way of giving back to the larger community. If I'm a part of this, I found my place. Maybe I should help others and to do what I can for them.
It's a sacred duty.
It is.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for joining us here at the Pasadena Church on Conversation Live.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for talking. Thank you for the inclusion, and thank you for your tolerance.
Absolutely. I appreciate you being here. Thank you, Mr. Singh. Again, folks, we're live in Altadena, Eaton Canyon, at the mouth of the fire, right here in the flash zone of the fire. This Altadena Eaton Canyon fire started just over a half a mile from where we're sitting. If you had a chance to look into the mountains, if you're Googling, we're looking directly north into the San Gabriel Mountain at Mount Wilson. We're at the Pasadena Church, which is located at 425 Sierra Madre Villa Street here in Pasadena, California. Resources and giveaways are available every Saturday from 10 until about 4 p.m. through the month of February. Again, that's every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. every Saturday here at the Pasadena Church on the East Campus. Pastor Kerwin Manning has opened up his church, his congregation, his parking lot, and folks are here from around the world to support the Dina Relief Drive. You can go to the Pasadena Church and you can find out how you can support the efforts. You could also go to neighborhoodservants.com if you'd like to get involved and make a donation or support in some kind of way. I'd like to thank Brad Gage Law for providing us with the resources to bring this special broadcast live and remote right here in Eaton Canyon. I'd also like to thank my friends at the LA Progressive, as well as my friends at KBLA Talk 1580 for their support and continuing to raise the voices up. We're going to be around here for a little bit longer. We're going to try to talk to a few more people, but for a second, we're going to try to take a break. And if we don't come back on, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. And as always, make sure you like, share, follow me at James Farr Live. You can follow us at Conversation Live on Instagram. This here is on Facebook and YouTube. But until we have another opportunity to talk to you, as always, agape.